Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Human Touch. I'm Lou Solomon from Interact Studio, and this is where we talk to authentic people who do interesting work. And this morning is certainly no exception there. We were just talking about this before the program started. Everyone in this Zoom room has a sweet memory of a teacher who saw in them something that perhaps they didn't know they had, a talent that they underestimated, somebody who cared, somebody who was committed in an unusual way. And we have someone just like that this morning. In fact, Demeka is this teacher for scores of students. Demeka Kimpson, she is CMS Teacher of the Year, and she is going to be interviewed by our own Jess Barilla. Jess, as you know, is our creative director, but also a senior promotion director at WCCB. So without delay, Jess, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for being here, Demeka. And yes, we do all have those memories of teachers. One comes to mind immediately for me. But I've experienced actually some of Demeka's amazing teaching, because one of my first memories of becoming friends with her, we are friends, full disclosure, is at my birthday, she had her class call up my work and sing happy birthday. Do you remember that?
Yeah, oh my gosh. You sure did.
Yeah. And the kids were so excited, and you could just tell the enthusiasm on their end to do it. And I just think things like that speak volumes of her. So welcome. We want to hear a little bit about your background and how you got into, first of all, music, because she's a music teacher, and you're the first music teacher to win Teacher of the Year in North Carolina, correct?
I'm not sure.
Or at least CMS.
I think maybe. Since I've been in the district, and this is almost coming up on year 20 for me.
So in the recent future, in recent year time, yes,
I will say
we're going to go with it.
From Sedgefield to win since like in 10 years. So
wow, it was a feat this year. So how did you get into music and then teaching?
Well, I actually kind of had no choice. I started piano when I was about 3 years old. My mom put me in lessons with a family friend who was like an aunt to me, and we, I've been playing ever since. I grew up literally on the campus of South Carolina State University. My mother was employed there as the school's procurement officer. And so after school, she would drop me off in the music building and I would just kind of be there until she finished with work for the day. And so I, just grew up being around excellent musicians, hearing music all day, playing the piano. And, by the time I got to upper elementary school, I had the opportunity to join band. So it was kind of there and done. Really couldn't escape it. So it's just been something I've been doing from a very young age.
It's part of you at this point. And I can speak personally as somebody who, I looked forward to the arts in school. I grew up playing piano. In New York, where I grew up, you had to take either band, orchestra, or chorus, and which was great for me because I couldn't do a lick of sports. So it's so important, especially in the formative years. You are at a middle school, you teach middle school, and you keep some of the high schoolers as well, right? As they go through the years.
I do, yes.
So talk a little bit about the importance of that accessibility to be able to take music and the arts for anyone, for any economic background.
Well, Sedgefield has historically been a Title I school. As the city changes and our neighboring areas change, our building has become a little bit more fluent, but we still serve a pocket of students who identify as low and socioeconomical. backgrounds. And it's always been my stance that no matter what you're coming from, when you get to me, if band is a thing that you want to do, you should be able to do it. I have very vivid memories of my own band teachers in middle school and in high school, making a way out of no way for kids to belong and be a part of the band program. They didn't let anything like a kid's parent not being able to rent an instrument stop them. And I've always felt like I need to do that and more, because I've watched how transformative it was for some of my own classmates to be able to have that opportunity. But I'm fortunate. So I'm in a small school, and I've made great friends over the years with members of the community and people believe in what we're doing here. And they've helped me to acquire instruments and equipment to the point that I don't have to ask parents to go rent anything from the music store. Now, of course, if a family wants to invest in an instrument for their child, they absolutely should. There's a lot to be said about ownership because it's something that will follow that kid once they get into high school. But if a family is not ready to make that purchase yet, 100% of my students can play a school instrument. And it's not just for the kids whose families can't afford it. It's for anybody who wants the chance to be in band. And a lot of families, they're like, my kid is in this and my kid is in that. And I don't know. I'm sorry.
Mr. Keith, could you please meet me at the story?
So she's at Sedgefield Middle School, everybody. That's coming to you live from the band room.
No, I was saying, for anyone who wants to play something, there's an instrument that's available to them. We have lots of families who, they're like, my kid is thinking about doing band. We don't know if we should make the financial investment. Maybe they'll play a year and they won't like it, and then we'll be stuck with this instrument. So typically that doesn't happen because once you join, you're kind of stuck with me. Making it impossible for you to say no. But it's been a passion of mine to make sure that kids have access to quality instruments and the ability to play, Yeah.
I want to touch on it. I want to get to the point of she has worked with so many students for so long and so many of their family members have come in. But before we get there, I want to ask you, okay, as we all know, it was a pandemic where people were at home and she still taught band and then won Teacher of the Year. So tell us a little bit about how the heck you do that.
Well, okay, picture it. March 15th, 2020, literally the last day I saw my kids in person, I said to my 8th graders, guys, I don't think we're coming back. We were supposed to be home for just a few days and then we were supposed to come back. And I was like, guys, I have a feeling we're not going to be back the way they say that we're going to be back. So grab your instruments, take everything home, clean your lockers, get it all. And, I'll see you online Monday morning. That, here's my phone number. Here's everything you need in order to contact me. And we'll get through next week and we'll see what's what. And 1 week turned into 2 weeks, turned into a month, turned into summer break, turned into, just a lot of uncertainty. I'm not a tech person at all. I spent more time on mute every time I shared my screen or thinking I was playing this beautiful piece of music. I'm the only one enjoying it. And my kids are like, and I ask questions like, we couldn't hear a thing. It took a lot to navigate the digital world and to be able to make sense of it for myself and then break that down into something palatable for my students to be able to play. But I learned everything I should not do and everything that didn't work during that 4th quarter of the 2019-2020 school year. And, around about that time, we really started to see the severity of the effects of COVID-19 and what it was doing to people health-wise. And one thing I started noticing with my students was, they were afraid, they were worried. So many of our families, their parents work, they're essential workers. And so while we all went home and went online, their parents were still going to and from work every day. And it was a lot to watch kids struggle with, the fear of, will my parents get sick? Will I get sick? And then just the challenges of navigating school, and school is just difficult in itself when you're a kid. You have subjects you excel at, and then there are areas where you struggle. So it was hard watching kids feel defeated. So for me, I just wanted to make sure that my kids were in a good space mentally wise. I wanted to make sure that they were emotionally being taken care of, and that we could finish the year strong, and that they at least had some fond memories. We got the content, we tried the best that we could, but there were just so many things that weren't available to us because we never needed them. We didn't have to have school in this capacity, in this way, on such a big scale. I mean, even the children who do virtual school, because it is a thing, or the kids who are homeschooled, they still have opportunities where they can go and do enrichment-like classes in person. This year, no one had that option. No one had that opportunity. So there just weren't platforms that were available to us because they didn't exist. And kudos to all the people who, came together to figure out a way to have ensemble rehearsals online, and how to, make virtual choirs and bands a thing, where it's something that, a layman could do, and not someone who has extensive background in sound production and video production, because that's not me. So it was just that first, wave of us being at home education wise. It was focused on the kids, make sure they're okay. So, I feel like I got a lot closer with them and their families, because, we're at home. So we're
in their kitchen with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been in children's homes before, but I've really never had them in mind. And so it became very personal for them to be with us. Hey, Kobe. Sorry, fellow band director and classmate. But it was one of those things where I spent the summer making plans with another band director friend. We ran through scenarios. We figured out Zoom. We learned what's the best audio settings to hear a kid play. You try to play trumpet and record it. It just does not come through. You try to play flute. It does, what microphones work, what platforms are going to be easy for not just us to use, but for a kid to use. And then also taking into consideration, not everybody lives where there is excellent internet access. What are we doing for kids who may have to get a hot spot from the school district? Or what are we doing for families who have parents that are working at home, as well as siblings who are also trying to use the family's Wi-Fi from home? What are we dealing with for those kids? And also middle school. I tend to have a lot of students who have younger siblings or older siblings. And for the ones that have younger siblings, if their parents are working, in a lot of cases, they were the ones that were making sure that everybody was okay at home while their families were at work. And so what are we doing for those kids who might have to step away from the computer in order to help, their first grade sister get signed into her Zoom, or to navigate her on techniques? Those were all sorts of things that we really had to take into consideration. And then we played. One thing we learned really quick is that there's a variance of lag when it comes to playing. That if I said, everybody clap your hands, and I count to 3 and you all clap your hands, it's going to look like a ripple effect on the screen. that there's no real way for you to play in sync over the computer. And also, you know, for us, likewise with everyone working from home, band is not a quiet subject. It's not a soft, you know, activity that you can do. And one thing that I found myself running into a lot with families were, you know, for parents who, you know, work second or third shift, they might be home sleeping during the time that we had Zoom. I saw my top group at 8:30 in the morning. So it was kind of difficult to be able to have much playing going on when a lot of kids just, they couldn't because of, you know, things that were going on, or families that are working. Now I've you know, have had some parents who were just like, you know what, it's something you got to do and we'll get through it. You know, this isn't a forever thing. And, you know, the kids played and they thrived. I've had one parent say that a piece that we were working on, one of her coworkers was like, I recognize that. I think I played that in band. So that's been fun. And you know, it's been interesting because the kids actually, they were able to learn. I'm most proud of my sixth graders because these are children I didn't know. I didn't get to make a bond with them beforehand. Usually I have a few events where I kind of get to know them and meet them beforehand. I didn't get to do any of that. And back when, and honestly, I will say I was the only teacher who physically met every last single one of my students in person before they came back into the building. And that was because I had to have instrument tryouts in the parking lot. You know, in a very safe and controlled manner, just so I could assign instruments and then issue them to, you know, to the kids. So I at least got to meet them before we actually started. But I didn't get a chance to do like, you know, okay, so here's how you hold your flute, right? Or here's how you hold your clarinet, and this is what you need to do with your lips in order to produce a sound. And or I always, you know, to me, it's one of those things like I can say, do it like this, and then you try. But if I say, put your finger right here on me, and I'll make the kids touch here on my face, and then they feel like the tensing, like I couldn't do that with them because, you know, hashtag COVID, we could not. So it was difficult and it was interesting. And like I said, I'm very, very proud of them because they made a lot of progress. And I just, you know, if only we could be in the building, you know, I constantly would tell them like, guys, if you're doing this with a 35-minute Zoom class, can you imagine what we'd be like if, you know, we were in person with a 90-minute block? And, you know, trying to hear every kid play something really quick over Zoom and then send them off to use Flipgrid or Smart Music or another music app we used was Upbeat. Like they had to learn how to navigate those software, you know, platforms and play their instrument. So
we're going to have a lot of future Trent Reznors now.
I'm sorry?
We're going to have a lot of future Trent Reznors now for all these kids who had to learn tech and music.
I hope so. I hope so. These kids have done impossible things. They've done things that I see adults struggle with. You know, I always joke that I'm tech support from my mother and her siblings. Like these kids are actually, they're so smart and they adapt to just about anything. And they were just so like, go with the flow and they learned and they achieved. And I couldn't be prouder of them. You know, we were able to produce 2 full concerts.
Wow. And did you get to perform them at all together or just over Zoom?
Well, so the platform we used, it was it's called Upbeat Music App. And I basically, you know, I assign the tune, I give them the parameters on how to perform it and set the tempo, and then I give them a link. and they basically have one shot to get it right. So they go, they have to start the music, get their camera right, and have their music up, press play, and play. Like they literally are like recording and performing at the same time. And if they make a mistake, they could be 2 notes from the end. If they make a mistake, it's recorded. Then the recording is no good. They have to stop, chuck it, start and do it all over again. And like you only can do it in one take. And so because there's no way to like really go in and splice it. And so you're asking for 100% accuracy, no mistakes, like absolute perfection from them every single time that they do that. And it's enough to do one piece. But because I'm crazy, like, oh, we're having a whole concert, y'all. Here's what we're working on. So asking them to do that, for multiple tracks, it's a lot, and they rose to the occasion. Like sometimes you don't know that it's difficult unless somebody tells you that it's difficult. You just do. Yeah. And I'm just happy that they indulged me and that they did it. And I hope that they're proud, especially my 8th graders, because man, this couldn't have come at a worse time for them. Their entire middle school career got interrupted. They spent literally half of their time in middle school virtual. They missed out on, all of the things that make middle school. Especially like I have a lot of students that are athletes, they missed out on sports, they missed out on cheer, they missed out on clubs and socializing with their peers in person. And so I wanted them to have something that they could look back and remember their time, of being a middle schooler with. I'm like, this was the only thing that I could give them, because we couldn't give them the school year in person.
It's so important. Some of these things are so much more formative too than like sitting in math,
Yeah.
Are there, you've taught children for so many years and their family members. Have you seen personally, are there any specific instances that stick out in your mind of a kid who's gone on to continue in their music career?
Yes. I probably shouldn't say this, but you don't want to see kids have a hard time and struggle. And don't get me wrong, I love being a band director. I love being a music teacher. I'd be useless at anything else. But I think about a lot of what I've had to sacrifice and give up to do this. And honestly, to be a teacher, sometimes it doesn't feel like the landscape is very friendly for us. And I often worry, that they won't have the experience that I have, and that things may, shouldn't say this, progressively, be more difficult for them. So, I'm like, if this is what you want to do, then fine. But, it's okay to continue to have music in your life, and this to be a passion. It doesn't necessarily have to be a profession. But I've had kids that, have gone on and majored in music, and they love it, and they're doing well. So it's like my thing is it's not to make another mini me. Although I have many me's, it's not for them to go and be another Miss Kimpson in the classroom, but I hope that they forever are consumers of music, be it that they're playing it or that they are supporting the arts by, being patrons, and in making sure that their own children have the same opportunity. But I do, at the very least, encourage them to continue to perform, and especially for my students who do go to college. And I'm like, you guys are excellent musicians. Being a quality collegiate musician, you don't have to major in music to get the scholarships. In fact, college directors want kids that play well, because those of us who do major in music, we need people in the ensemble with us. You know, we need those counterparts. And so you still have an opportunity to play and benefit from being a musician, you know, even at the collegiate level. And a lot of kids, they do go on and perform in their colleges and universities bands.
And I would disagree. I think the world could use a few more mini Miss Kimpsons. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think we could definitely use a couple. Demeka's roommate has actually joined us, and she's wrote in the chat, you know, she saw firsthand how hard she worked. She, you know, it sounds difficult. I think it probably was more difficult than you even are explaining it to be, because I may have just have given up. I don't know if I have that patience. And it just shows a true passion for the profession and for what you do and for the children and little people that you impact. And, you know, I think we're all very thankful to have people like you teaching the children of our society, because again, we can use more Miss Kimpsons.
Wow. Well, these are the kids that are going to be taking care of us in old age. And so,
yeah.
I don't have children of my own, and I'm like,
oh yes, you do.
I'm very hopeful that like these children will look out for me as I age up. But no, you know, it's like I said, I get to do my favorite thing. I don't know if many people can say that, and I hope that I get to do it for a very long time. You know, it's a job and a hobby. So I hope that I'm able to share that, you know, with kids and their families, and that, you know, it makes them a better person. Like, I've never heard anyone say, I regret learning how to play the flute or the drum. Now, I might have parents like, I regret buying that drum set, or, you know, I've never, you know, heard a person say that they regretted coming away with a skill that has developed into like a talent. You know, this is something that's always yours. I teach privately. I've had adults over the years come back after, you know, finding their old clarinet or their old flute, and, you know, they, you know, want to dust it off, and they decide that they've got some time, and so they come and they sign up for lessons. And, you know, one of the first things that I always do is I'm like, show me what you got. And a lot of them are like, I don't know anything, I can't. I'm like, I promise, all of that hard work that you put into learning this thing, it didn't go away. You know, and a lot of people are shocked. I'm like, well, just open the case and put it together and just take it from there. A lot of people are shocked that they can still make a great sound, and that, you know, things literally just start coming back to them. I'm like, this is something that's yours forever, and no one can take that from you. And there are people who enjoy, you know, playing post school. Our area has several excellent community ensembles. I'm like, and they play like fantastic quality music. And these are people who have careers that are not involved in music, and it's still a way for them to connect to a community of people who, you know, had the same enjoyment of playing that they did. And so I think that's just wonderful that that's something that can be there for them later.
Yeah, I think music is a good therapeutic outlet for so many. It's so important, yeah, very important for all of us, especially during these trying times, to continue to have an outlet. Yes. Well, it is past 11:30, so we're gonna wrap up. But thank you so much, Demeka, for sharing some of this with us. There's so much more we could ask her. I could talk to, well, I do talk to you all the time, but I could talk to you for another hour about this. We appreciate you so much being here and sharing some of this light with us.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me. Like I said, I yammer on about this band in general, a lot. Um, and thank you for supporting the arts and allowing us to have a voice, because my story literally is every band, orchestra, piano, general music teacher story, in this district and beyond. Everyone has done an amazing job adapting to our circumstances, current circumstances, and it's not just me. So thank you for allowing me to share not just my voice, but also the voice of my colleagues.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. We're so happy you're there for our kids, Demeka, and God bless you for having the tenacity and the perseverance to hang in and keep the music playing. We just love you for that. And for our part, you're a superstar. Join us next time, August 12. We speak with Jeff Dugdale, who is the Director of Aquatics at Queen's University at Charlotte. And Susie's going to speak with him about the stress not only our athletes are undergoing, in the events at the Olympics, we're watching this take hold, but for all of us in areas of well-being and mental health, it's okay to say, I'm not really okay right now. And so we invite you to join us then. But until then, have a great day and we'll see you soon. Thank you.